Well, folks, how are you today? We have many interesting things to share with you, and I would like to share your happenings with us. And this is a chat with Glendora, and this is Glendora documentary number 3. And what is the first thing we're going to tell them about? How old is Glendora at this point?
76 to 85.
76 years old to 85 years old. And where is she living at this point?
Let's see.
Kinderhook.
Kinderhook, yes.
Actually, it's Stuyvesant. It's just over the Kinderhook line. Now, what should we tell them about first? That it was a garage. It was a standalone garage. It was out in the middle of 2 fields. There was a kill salon on this side, and there was the owner of the garage whose house was on that side, and there was like a meadow in between. And this 2-car garage had been made, one of the bays was made into a suite apartment, and I just loved it, and all of my video equipment fit in there with all of my cats. And we saved a little kitty named .com. And .com was with us for 17 years. And she really had good fortune in landing up on her feet and a good long life. .com kitty cat. I go with the prompts now.
Acer computer.
This is when I started computers. No computers up until then? No computers up until then. What year is it, dear?
Let's see.
2004, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2004 to 2013 about. No computers, and my first computer was a little $250 Acer, and I had to learn how to use it. And George Dixon showed me how to use it, and so did Kevin McConnell, and so did Austin Fernandez. They all helped me learn how the computer. And you want to know something about that computer? You know, I told you the garage was out in the open with 2 fields on the side of it and woods behind it. And one night there was a vigorous electric storm. And I was lying in bed, and it was about 9 o'clock, and everything was dark. And I heard a click, click. Lightning had struck the outside connection. And that was the end of that computer. Just like that. Just like that. So we got another computer, and I think that was a Hewlett-Packard. And I'm ready for prompts.
Track phone.
What, dear?
Track phone.
Oh, this is the year the track phones came out, folks. You remember the little track phones? The little pocket phones that had the cover? And you open it up and you dial the number. You know, they had a lot of advantage. And you would buy a card, and it would last you for so many calls. That was the year of the track phone. And as we got to using the track phone and depending upon the track phone, we began to wonder, what is the use of having a landline? And that was the end of the landlines, folks. Although today, and for years, I've had a landline, and I still do have a landline.
Berkshire Cable TV.
Berkshire Cable TV. Here I lived in their coverage area, and they would not cablecast my public access TV show. Request after request after request, going to the office and requesting. You know, Chatham was a different story altogether. They cablecast it from the beginning with no hanky-panky. But Berkshire Cable TV was a little telephone company started by a man, and he wanted to leave it to his 2 sons. And the man passed on, and the 2 sons were running it. But they would not cablecast that show. So what did Glendora do? Tell me. Tell me what Glendora did.
Lawsuits, I assume.
Good for you, Stephanie. And I wrote the lawsuit, and I served it on them, or I had it served on them, notified them of it, and they came around immediately. And it was on, the program was on 2 hours every night, Monday, I think from 7 to 9. It was all local, about local events.
Schoonover.
Oh, who owned this property? A teacher, a special ed teacher in the Kinderhook school system. And a very good-looking young man. He was in his 20s. But he had trouble with his wife, and it was a mess, and he was going with another woman, and that was a mess. But anyway, and how long did you live there? Oh, from 2004 to 2013. That's almost 9 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Kevin McConnell and Austin Fernandez. Kevin was a senior in high school, and Austin was a junior. Austin turned out to be the valedictorian of his class. And Kevin was very keen on computers. Very, very keen. And he was into politics. He was a Democrat, and he went to all of the Democrat meetings, and he was endorsed by the Democrats and knew the crowd. And I could see in Kevin how he could be the president of the United States someday. He had that energy in him. But after they made him during the election go house to house, and after so many doors were slammed in his face, he gave up politics entirely. And he was a great computer game person. You would have liked him, Stephanie.
Aw.
He wrote a history book on computer games.
Oh, wow.
And he's only, 18 or 19.
Mm-hmm.
And he did go to work for Apple, and he did quite well with Apple, but it got so far, and then he had a break with Apple. Now he's still doing computers, but I don't know for whom. And Austin stayed with me all the years that he finished as a junior, as a senior in high school. And then he went to Northeastern University. And Northeastern University in Boston, that's a vocational. I mean, it's a university, a college, but they make the students work 1 year. On their junior year, they have to go out and work, so it's a 5-year course. And so Austin stayed with me through then, and he tried very hard to get into graduate school with a fellowship, and he wanted to be in psychology. They made it impossible for him to do so. He did end up getting a scholarship, but a lot of it was a loan at Vanderbilt University in Nashville. And he did end up getting a master's, but it was environmentalism. He gave up on psychology.
Museum and trailer.
Now, the museum, this was interesting, folks. The museum we had been able to house in our apartment, but the museum was getting bigger and bigger. As things happened, and they had to be stored, and they had to be taken care of. So I asked a man who started Amanda's Fireplace on Route 9H, where would I find well, here's how it was. I was standing out in the yard one day, and I saw a tractor trailer go by with a 55-foot trailer. And I said, that's what I need. I need something on wheels, and I need something that big. So I asked this man, who was very knowledgeable, where would I find a tractor trailer? He says, here, take these magazines. They're advertising tractor trailers all the time. Well, Peter Paul, down in Rhode Island, had a tractor and trailer that he would sell me for $600. It was a 1955 model. And what year are we in now? 2004. And so he offered to paint it for me any color that I wanted. And I think I chose purple, but I think he chose white. And he got somebody to drive it up here overnight. And I paid him the $600 cash, and that became the museum, and that's the museum today, folks. And I hope you see pictures of it soon.
Yeah. Raccoons?
What, dear?
Raccoons.
Oh, this little garage I told you about. One night, I hear a racket, and it's underneath the kitchen floor. And then it's more racket, and I hear boards, and I hear thumping. And out from the cupboard under the sink came a skunk. Cutest skunk, this big. And now what am I going to do? Here I am, here is the skunk, and here is the door. What would you do? What would you have done? Well, fortunately, there was some food on the counter to my right. I think it was popcorn. And I took this popcorn and put it piece by piece and made a path toward the back door. And the skunk followed the popcorn, eating it all the way until he ate himself to the outdoors. And nothing bad happened. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And then the raccoons, folks. I would feed the raccoons at the back door, and one night I was late feeding the raccoons, and Mrs. Raccoon came to the front door and started coming into the house. And I said, well, no, wait a minute. And so I led her through my house, the garage, from the front door to the back door. And then she went out the back door, and then I fed her peanut butter sandwiches. She had the cutest face, the most irresistible face. And every year she'd come up with 4 babies, and they looked exactly like her. Exactly. You couldn't tell one from the other. And then there was an opossum, and I dearly loved that opossum. And that opossum thought that I was going to attack her one night, and she held on to the branch and didn't move. But very quickly, I backed into the house and shut the door and gave her relief.
Card trailer.
What, dear?
Card trailer.
I don't know what that one is. Say it again, dear.
Card trailer.
Darned if I know what that one is. Go on to the next one.
Reformed church.
Oh, I went to the Reformed church. I told you that was Martin Van Buren's church. Yep. And next, hon?
Brother Lawrence.
Oh, how were you doing, Glendora, and finding God? Not doing well at all. Why? I was going to church meetings. I had too much church to find God. And I had many friends, and there were dinners, and there was a TV show. I made TV shows every week, and no editing at all. I didn't have to do any editing. I just handed in the show as I made it. No character generator or anything like that. And so, how are you coming on your search for God? Not at all. Not even close. And again, tell me how old, what the ages were.
76 to 85.
All right, next front.
Shovel snow.
Oh, the snowstorms. You can't imagine the snowstorms. But I had a pattern. I would go out and I would shovel an area 6 foot by 10 foot. And that would give me space to move. And then I would shovel off the 1980 Lincoln and the 1993 Lincoln. and get the snow off of them. And then I'd shovel another area that was 10 feet by 20 feet. And then I'd go in the house for an hour and work on the books and stuff like that. And so there was never any strain. There was never any strain on the heart. And before I knew it, by the end of the day, the driveway was shoveled. And it was, you could traverse it. And then on Valentine's Day, I had an argument before the appellate term in White Plains. In the courtroom in White Plains, I had an oral argument. And
10 o'clock a.m., 78.8 degrees Fahrenheit.
Thank you, little temperature clock. And Kilser gave me a ride to the Hudson Railroad Station. That's a beautiful train ride. You go down the Hudson River all the way into Manhattan. That's a beautiful train ride. And I did the oral argument, and I was fed up with the appellate term. I was fed up with the appellate division. The judges were not true to the law. They were not true to the United States. They didn't follow their oath of office. They didn't follow their calling. I think I've told you that it was unresisting self-surrender to vice. They were interested in their own careers. They had to pay money to get a position to run as a judge. And then they had to pay for the election expenses. And it was ugly. The whole thing was ugly. So I pretty much made sure that this was going to be my last argument. And I confronted each judge. There's 3 of them. And I confronted each judge. I said, this is what your oath of office said. Judge so-and-so, did you do this? Judge so-and-so, did you do this? Judge so, and they never answered. They were in total silence. And then I think toward the end of my stay, I picketed this appellate term out on the sidewalk and said the appellate term didn't know what they were doing and they weren't defending us. And the White Plains police came along and told me that I couldn't do this. Now that would have been a great lawsuit, because we all know that free speech, sidewalk free speech, gets and deserves the utmost protection. And that would have been a great lawsuit in the Supreme Court of the United States. Civil rights, free speech, the First Amendment. But I didn't pursue that. Okay, what was next, dear?
Philadelphia.
Oh, Philadelphia. Nobody would help me get my program on PhillyCam in Philadelphia until I found a Buddhist, and a Buddhist Hoshina Seki. And I said, do you know anybody in Philadelphia? Well, this Buddhist did know somebody in Philadelphia, and it's another Buddhist. And he was a lecturer at the Grand University of Pennsylvania, the private school that was started by Ben Franklin. And he sponsored me. And he was a Harvard PhD. And so that was PhillyCam, and we finally made it on PhillyCam. I didn't tell you that I was building the network, did I? Boston, Quincy, Springfield, Mass., Pittsfield, Mass., Bridgeport, Connecticut, Hartford, East Hartford, West Hartford, clear across the United States. Chicago, Portland, Oregon, San Francisco, San Diego, San Jose, San Antonio, Los Alamos. I didn't tell you that, did I? and it had to do with a lawsuit against Cablevision when they truncated our coverage. And so it ended up with 78 TV stations. What was I going to tell you about that? I don't know.
You were just saying how the Glendora Public Access TV network got started.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. When were those years? 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009. And then Glendora decided to have her funeral. Well, that was fun. I wanted to hear all the nice things people were going to say about me. And so James Slater, the Reverend James Slater, Lutheran minister, went along with it. And this is on video, and you can see it in Glendora documentary #1. It was really good. It was really entertaining. And there was something else I was going to tell you. Oh, and Jim Dunnan, who brought me .com, who begged me to give a home to .com because they didn't want a cat. Jim Dunnan was the mayor of Kinderhook. And he was telling me how the village made people shovel out the sidewalks in front of their houses. And I pointed out to Jim that this was against the 13th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. It was involuntary servitude. If you make a person shovel the sidewalk in front of his house, that's involuntary servitude, if you're going to find that person for not doing it. Well, Jim was overstressed by that. But then we all got over that. And then the library had a course in computers. And I wanted to make a video of it. And so I went there with my TV camera. And the speaker didn't want to be video. And the librarian stuck up for her. And I pointed out that the library was open to the public. And if it's open to the public by free press, it was all right to video it. Well, the librarian made me go in and sit in her office, and she called the policeman and the New York trooper. And I sat in there. I knew right then that I had a case with the Supreme Court of the United States. And so I sat in her office under coercion, but I was writing my new lawsuit. And I was telling them that this is a great lawsuit. I don't have to go to the United States District Court. I can go straight to the Supreme Court. Well, I think that's toward the end of the lawsuits. The last lawsuit was I sued the Rothschilds, the international bankers. And I sued them on the grounds that they had stolen America from me. And indeed they have, because they took away from Congress the right to coin the money. They took away so many of our other rights. It ended up they took away our gold. I don't think there's any gold in Fort Knox really anymore. And so I think they robbed us of America. And they defaulted. They never answered. Where did you sue them? The Virgin Islands. The United States District Court in the Virgin Islands. Do you have some more prompts?
Yeah, gray cat.
What, dear?
Gray cat.
I didn't get it.
Gray cat. A gray cat?
Oh, yes. There was a farm across the street, and these cats apparently were treated terribly. And if they could make it across Route 9 without being squashed by an automobile, they came to our fields. And I adopted Amadeus. He was a beautiful, long hair, handsome cat. And then I adopted this little short hair. You know what she would do every night? I would be sitting at the desk doing the work, and I would go to start getting ready for bed at 9 o'clock. And the minute I was in bed, she was waiting for me, and she would come and lie down next to my pillow and stay there all night in that same position. She waited all night long, all evening long, for me to go to bed so she could lie down next to me. Now, isn't that endearing?
Aw, yeah.
And that was when .com was there. Okay, anything else?
Video outdoors.
Yes. As I say, this is beautiful.